Sometimes there are projects out there that you just don't necessarily want to cover or feel the most comfortable talking about. This is going to be kind of an awkward watch. I've been in this position before, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I have seen this show already in like maybe a couple seconds worth. When Quibi was around, because this was a former Quibi show before the platform went down, because they went bankrupt, and now Roku, I believe, is the ones distributing the content, including this one. Like I've been saying with Quibi, after the bankruptcy, pretty much none of these shows existed. Now the Roku channel, as they rebranded themselves on YouTube, has picked them up. Not all the trailers of the shows that were available from the get-go have been made available on that new channel yet, or after the rebranding, but this one is. So I'm assuming this one is available right now if you want to go watch it on Roku, which I'm really not excited to be. But as I said, when Quibi was around, they were advertising their shows for a lot of commercials. I kept skipping them because I'm like, okay, I want to cover these with you guys first, so stop playing them, YouTube. It drove me crazy, but this show was on there all the time. And I'm already familiar with the plot of this one. I can tell you, just from the one look and from the short bit that I've seen, it's not really interesting me to cover this. It's going to be an awkward watch. But Dummy, starring the current streaming it girl, Anna Kendrick, which I'm going to say that as a disparaging thing, but this show I'm just not jumping on. I understand, as the streaming it girl, she has done plenty of other work, and maybe on some of these other streaming networks, these other shows are going to be a little more enticing. I haven't checked them out yet, but I'm looking to. I'm just not jumping on this one. So, for those of you who understand why Dummy is going to be such an awkward one to cover, this is what it says, in case you have been luckier than me and have not been bombarded by the ads on YouTube. Okay, this is what you can expect. An aspiring writer befriends her boyfriend's sex doll, and the two take on the world together. You read that, and you heard me correctly. Do you see why I don't like covering this type of stuff? But I've been in this position before, as I said. There was a film that came out a couple years ago, I think. It might have been, a couple years ago, I think, at this point. It was called 2050. It starred Dean Cain. And it covered a very similar subject matter. I believe it was a fictional story. I hope it was. But it was bringing up some very philosophical questions in terms of these dolls, which I did not know up until actually looking at that video. I'd seen like some stories about it before from just some independent YouTubers out there. I tend to watch a lot more independent journalists than I do mass media, and some have acknowledged that this was happening. I thought it was kind of weird, like some kind of out there, maybe future, like a future story type thing of what the technology we have in the future. I would never want this, but apparently it's not just that it's a hypothetical. We're there. News trades, or the major ones, actually started covering these stories about these actual dolls being created, seemingly to replace the idea of actually going and getting another human being as a romantic partner. Which I'm like, who's in... Maybe for some people out there, it's like, no, I don't want a real... This is where technology goes too far. When you're willing to sacrifice human interaction, especially on such a personal level, that most human beings, I think, throughout history we've gravitated towards wanting to be in a relationship. It's just we're relational human beings. And that plus it was set up with creation. As a Christian myself, that's a perspective that I have. There was never a part of that said, we're going to bring robotic dolls into the mix. And especially ones that seem to be very much for personal subjective gratification. You know what I mean? Relationships are a mutual thing. They're supposed to be. And that is reflected, in human relationships. That's not as much present with doll ones. Now, like I was saying, it's just really awkward to consider we're actually at that point of technology, but we are. There's actual dolls like this being designed that cost... Well, here's the thing. I get people, maybe expensive. I get that, but would you really trade a human relationship for like a $7,000 doll? I think they're actually a little more expensive, if I remember right, but it's really... Well, I guess because you can say, well, technically, I can get a customizable partner. You know what I mean? I'm getting tired of the black hair, I can switch it for blonde. It's just so bad. And I believe they're typically female dolls. I don't know if they make male ones. Yeah, someone probably would, but either way, I'm not willing to give up. Everybody's addicted to technology these days, including me. I'm not going to sit back and be like, oh, I'm holier than thou. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm definitely in some cases addicted to my phone, but I'll tell you this. Well, because everybody is, but I'm not willing to give that up. Just because I'm single, I'm actually aspiring to meet a human being, not a robot. I don't have $7,000, and I wouldn't waste it on this crap anyway. But, yeah. So, as the large point stated, this is apparently happening. 2050 already covered this, and that was a very awkward watch. But again, it was a much more philosophical approach than this one. That was actually asking questions of, well, technically if I'm married to a human being and I buy this doll, am I cheating on my partner? And I would say, in theory, yes. But again, there's that question over sentience. It's just, I wouldn't. Do you see why this is like it's a complicated conversation? I wouldn't get a doll anyway. So in that case, I completely avoid the philosophical wonders. I can make my life easier. But again, in that case, it was very much more an intellectually based project, at least from the sounds of it. It did get to be like a bit vulgar in parts. There's a whole case for tell, don't show. I know people say like, well, it's more so in the movie industry and art, show, don't tell. We don't need exposition. In some cases, you're better with exposition. I don't need to see a lot of the scenes of what would be happening with a doll in this type of atmosphere. And I'm assuming just like with 2050, which I had to blur that trailer in a lot of parts. I actually age restricted the video too, just based on the topic, because I do have younger viewers. And this is, again, I'm very considerate in the subject matters I cover, but this one in particular, I'm like, well, I already covered it before. And I think there's interesting points to be made, so in that case, I'll just take certain precautions. It doesn't mean I make my content inappropriate. I try to keep it as clean as possible, but in some cases, you don't get that with other movies out there. In particular with that case, so I'm not as excited about this one, just again on the basis of what it's talking about. Like 2050, I didn't watch it, but 2050, I'd be a little more interested in seeing the philosophical part, maybe fast forwarding for a whole bunch of parts if I could, just not expose myself to those types of scenes that were in the trailer. This is very much, and I've said this how many times, you start to see it picked up by, news trades, and then you see entertainment industries, they'll start promoting it in their projects. Right now, here we have the streaming service that's creating fictional stories surrounding these dolls, getting them in the pop culture, I see. So I guess when these, are being mass produced on the market, people are going to jump on it because they're going to think, I remember that show that actually said this was coming. It's so bad. Okay. Like I said, awkward watch. We have 2 trailers to watch for this. We're going to watch the first one, and then we're going to talk about it more in my condensed recent. Let's watch a video together, and I'll probably watch the second trailer again to give it, a holistic look in another video. But, man, I am not jumping on this one. Okay. Without further ado, we're going to look at the official Roku channel trailer. All right. Here we go. I'm assuming this is the one that's been playing on YouTube constantly back when Quibi was online. Yep, this is the one.
What is this? Glitter? Are you cheating on me?
Girls don't normally ask if I have a question like a big smile. Are you cheating on me? It's just kind of weird. Oh, boy.
I'm having a nervous breakdown. My boyfriend's talking to me. But I have news for you, babe. We're all dolls until we topple the patriarchy.
That's great. You're a feminist.
I think she represents.
This is gonna be a
wants to heal you, embrace her.
burdensome watch.
I have pee anxiety. Can you
Who is that? He's like 14. So, I'm 7. A fun-loving couple and our
What
friends
is this?
all together. I think that would make an amazing story. We're gonna be the best feministy feminists that were ever feminists!
Really pushing the feminist thing there, aren't you? Well, when you really don't have much left, it was pretty much just like an onslaught of feminist and sex jokes. I'm not interested in that. Kind of some. Okay, I'll tell you this. I like Anna Kendrick seems like a very charismatic lead. And I really like Donald. What's his name again? I forget. It's been a couple years. Donald Lowe. He was on Gotham years ago. I loved that show. So of course I recognize Bullock. Love him. But beyond that, I'm just not interested. I mean, it looks well shot. I mean, the music at least added kind of a fun component to it, but the feminist jokes just weren't really that funny to me. It was kind of like, oh, we're throwing the feminist in there. It's like, give me some more nuanced material. And even then, again, with regards to comparing this one to 2050, That was much more intellectual. That was much more thought-provoking. Asked some, I think, pretty interesting questions in terms of this new technology. This is just trying to make it, like, entertaining, and it's really going for that R-rated audience. In some parts, it's, telling some jokes that are a bit on the crude side. I mean, the fact that this doll's like, I'm 7, that's, I don't know. I guess, you could say, well, my creator created me 7 years ago. But the larger insinuation of some of the jokes, again, it's very crude and really, like, going for that R-rated audience, which I understand the next trailer is really pushing them for that, too. It's the Not Safe for Work trailer, specifically. It does get a bit violent, too. So, yeah, it's really going for an adult audience, and I'm just not on board with it. I'm not interested in this technology. I'd rather find a human being. And this type of stuff with the crude content, nah. What do you guys think about Dummy? Maybe you guys, after being bombarded, you're like, fine, I'll just watch it. Back when Quibi was on, like, just stop showing me this ad. Feel free to let me know what you think down below. Now that I've seen the trailer, yeah, it's just as annoying as I thought it was back then. Don't forget all the good stuff with liking, subscribing, the sharing, the hitting that bell. And until we get to look at a Not Safe for Work trailer, okay, not excited about that. I will see you guys at that point. But until then, thanks for watching this video. I love you guys. Over there, fellow man. God bless. Peace.